Hello, everybody. This is Alan Fine, and I'm here with John Wagner, who's the founder and chairman of, well, it used to be American Queen Steamboat Company and Victory Cruises, but now we're here celebrating American Queen Voyages. We're going to tell you about all that and more on Insider Travel Report. So, John, we have a lot to talk about.
Yes, as always, Alan, we always have lots to talk about, you and I.
First of all, everyone can see we're in New York. It's part of an eight city tour to announce the branding of all the companies under one moniker.
Well, Alan, it's to, announce our rebranding, but it's also to announce things like Ocean Victory, Ocean Discover, Alaska, Yucatan Peninsula, Eastern Seaboard, New Routes, more Ohio River, and just get together with people like you and get interviewed on camera.
All right, let's rewind, do a little bit of history.
All right.
So I always loved that story of how you first bought the American Queen, and then 2 weeks later, the opportunity was for another ship, and you had already done. Tell the story. Yeah.
So, how much time do we have before we run out of film? All right.
I got a humongous chip.
All right. So, as you know, we bought the American Queen, and it took us
2012?
2011, actually, is when we made the offer. It took us three different offers from Arid before they accepted an offer, and then we had a year to close on it because it took a long time to get the financing. So, we get the offer, we buy the American Queen, we spend a year renovating it, we hire about 220 crew members, we start operating, and the second week of operation, I'm on board the boat and I get this call from Chip Yannigan, who,
Let me interrupt you. You've got to put the heart to this story. Your wife said what?
And Claudette literally told me, look, if you try and ever buy another overnight cruise boat, I will kill you in your sleep. And she said, it'll be painful for me because you know I love you. But I'm still going to have to kill you in your sleep.
So now you're 2 weeks in, and an opportunity comes up.
Yeah, so 2 weeks in, and we get a call from Chip Yannigan, the head of the U.S. Maritime Administration. He said, hey, John, he said, I'm reading in the press all this great press about how you hired 220 mariners, you put all these U.S. mariners back to work, you did all the repairs at U.S. shipyards. He said, this is what the Maritime Administration is all about, is U.S. shipyards putting mariners back to work. He said, I have another deal.
Can you help us do that again?
Yeah, he said, I got another deal for you. I've got a boat, that's been sitting, it's only been sitting for 5 years, It's called Empress of the North. And he said, I'd like you to buy it. And I was honest with him. I said, look, Chip, we have spent every penny we had on the American Queen, and we're fully leveraged, and, there is no way we're buying another boat. He said, all right, I get it. But he said, why don't you just fly to Washington, D.C. and let me buy you dinner? So I fly to Washington, D.C., and, I'll take a whole dinner and condense it down to 5 minutes. But we have a nice dinner, and he says, hey, look, doing a great job on the American Queen. We've got this other boat, the Empress of the North. It's sitting up in Portland. And he said, we think it would be good for the Maritime Administration, the country, if you guys bought it. And I said, Chip, I was honest with you. We can't buy another boat. We're fully leveraged. And I said, besides that, when we bought the American Queen, the Maritime Administration, had us put down $500,000 non-refundable, and I would never do that again. He said, I know, but I wasn't the administrator then. I'd make it easier for you. I'd only charge you like $50,000. You could afford $50,000 as a deposit, couldn't you? And I said, I don't know, And one thing led to another, and it went, and before I knew it, Alan, I was signing on the bottom line.
I remember as you told me this story, he made you an offer you couldn't refuse.
So I had to go home and tell Claudette, I said, honey, look, I know I know you promised you're going to kill me in my sleep if we ever bought an overnight cruise boat, but really, this is going to be the best deal we'll ever see. And Alan, it turned out to be that way. She didn't kill me in my sleep. Oh, she got...
No, you slept in the garage, no?
No, I didn't. But I said, hey, you get to be the godmother, which she was.
No, that was the bribe. It was like, you can be the godmother if you want.
Be the godmother. But that's what I love about Claudette. She's always stood by me through thick and thin and always been right there. And the Empress has been wildly successful. Like I said, in 2019, before COVID, we had 23 back-to-back sold-out trips. I mean, you just couldn't hardly get on the boat. It was just amazing.
So let's go over. So that was around 2014 it went into service?
2014.
But always Pacific Northwest?
Always. It's the only route we've been on, and it's the only route, we will be on, because we perfected that route, and it's just so good. I mean, several people said, why don't you take the boat to Alaska? And I said, well, because we can get a purpose-built boat for Alaska that is much better.
You're getting ahead of yourself, which is way.
It's a leading teaser, Alan.
But also, the fact is that as popularity grew, the American Queen wasn't large enough for demand, and so then you looked for more ships, or what did you do? I kind of know the answer.
Well, Alan, you know the answer, but I mean, it's after the American Empress, my management team promised me, hey, you cannot buy any more boats for a year. So I said, all right. And so as soon as that year...
Or we'll kill you in your sleep.
No, they didn't say they do that, but all right, no more new boats for a year. So as soon as that year was up, I went and bought 2 casino boats in a single week, before they could make me promise anything else. And so bought 2 casino boats. So the Isle of Capri boat became the American Duchess, that first boat on the river with 2-story loft suites. And then the Canesville Queen, we had a little bit more time for planning and everything else, and we perfected the design. The boat is gorgeous, as you know, because I think you saw it. We cut it in half.
I got to see it, yeah.
Cut it in half, added a 60-foot mid-body section. All the things that our customers said they wanted, like more space on the bow. So the gym is on the bow. You look through the windows. The card room, the library, perks. It's just an awesome boat. Then you've got, the grand bar that's on the port side that runs fore and aft instead of a thwartship. Just came out, phenomenal boat, and it's just so awesome.
You made an announcement that was unheard of at the time. We will not cruise without vaccinated guests.
Yeah, so Alan, everybody asked me about that like it was a hard decision. But
everyone else has done it since.
But it wasn't a hard decision, and the reason it wasn't a hard decision is so, Alan, you've interviewed me enough. We run it like a family business. Claudette, the daughters, all the people that work for me, friends and family. And so the biggest thing I do is care about them as people first, and their safety. And then the guests. You see it. A lot of the folks, they're my guests. They come up, and so it was number one was safety. And I just said, guys.
You're also a scientist, and you studied science.
Well, I did, and my daughter's a nurse, and we looked at the vaccine, and also, Alan, don't forget our demographics. When we were on the calls, and this is why I appreciate other cruise lines that had to make other decisions. So, that, our demographics are 71 years plus or minus 10. But if you read, I was just reading it today in the New York Times, people over 65, 95% of them have been vaccinated. So, in all honesty, Alan, it wasn't even a controversial decision because our guests wanted that. But other people, so there is no vaccine. So and I hate to say it, if I'm Disney, you can't do that because there is no vaccination for kids under 13 right now, and that's
You could.
We could, and so it was the right decision.
And I'm getting ahead of myself, but you're also your demographic is going to shift younger. You're also changing your branding. You're taking out the word steamboat, which has older connotations, and you're becoming Voyages, and you're doing expedition, which normally skews younger. So your demographic is going to get younger.
Yeah, I was really big on Alaska, from going up to Alaska, from being, a mariner myself. And really, when I explained it, the sales and marketing people were all over it because they said, well, John, look, now you're going to have a product that will start to attract 50-year-olds. And if we can move them, so if we can get them 50 when they're on the Ocean Victory, Ocean Discover, and then we can kind of take them to, the Empress of the North, which has, zip lining, fishing trips, wine tasting, and then we can take them to the Great Lakes, when they're in their 60s, and then we get them, on the American Queen when they're 70s. We own that customer for 40 years. So they say, that is music to our ears, because if we can own the customer for 40 years, we are in very good position. So.
All right, so this all came from the history question. So American Queen, and then Empress, then Duchess, then Countess, and then at the same time, another opportunity comes up to buy another company, which I got to watch you build, Victory Cruise Line.
Yeah.
So that was for now the lakes.
Yes. Yeah.
You were looking for one boat, but you gave birth to twins.
Yes, yeah. They were built by the same company, same interior design that did the American Queen, American Empress, and so they already had the right look and feel. They were part of the fleet. They used to be part of the fleet. So for me, it was easy to piece it together. Then I just had to strike a deal, and then we started, looking at the Great Lakes and Eastern Seaboard, and then Mexico.
But now with the rebranding, they're also being renamed. So Victory 1 and 2 are now
the Ocean Voyager and the Ocean Navigator.
Okay. Now, so they're still, what are their routes? They're still the Great Lakes?
Yeah, well, we've expanded it, though. So, our goal...
They're traveling out.
Yes.
And down south.
Down south.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so our goal is, on all of our boats, we try and cruise 330 days a year. We only trying to take them out of service for 6 weeks for layup. So, the Great Lakes were our bread and butter, have done we've been wildly successful. Through our partnership now, with... City Cruises that had Spirit and then Odyssey. We're the only cruise boat that can dock now at Navy Pier. Oh, yeah. And so you start at Navy Pier, and then you go to Mackinac Island, and then up to Sault Ste. Marie, and then Detroit, Cleveland, Niagara Falls, Toronto, unbelievable, all 5 Great Lakes, unbelievable cruise. So, but we can only do that for, 5 to 6 months. So now we're going to start doing the Eastern Seaboard, and then we're going to drop down and do the Yucatan Peninsula.
It's amazing. You definitely have more itineraries than ever.
Yes.
So.
And we're going to add more Ohio River. The Ohio River is beautiful. During the summer, you don't have high and low water issues because of the lock system. You don't have the competition for all the docks. We're developing those itineraries. And, when we do focus groups, Alan, the number one requested trip is that they'd like to see again is Louisville to Pittsburgh.
Let's talk about your home office.
Yeah, so the home office is
where?
It still is in New Albany,
okay.
But I think what happened
Indiana.
Yes, Indiana, but we just announced at Seatrade that we'll be opening up a satellite office in Fort Lauderdale.
And also, it's going to have a hell of a staff.
About 100 people. So, during the presentation today, you can see with our growth and going from, basically 1 boat to 8 boats in a 10-year period, we've started to add a lot of staff. We were able, you can see from acquisition of the boats for the Great Lakes and also even casino boats, we are an opportunistic company that's always looking for unique opportunities. So one of the things we capitalized on during COVID, a lot of really, 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 really good people were laid off or furloughed. And so we took that opportunity to say, all right, why don't we hire some really good people? And when we hired a lot of those really good people, being in the cruise industry, they were from either Miami or Lauderdale. When you look at people like Carrie Tarnowski, Michael Hicks, David Kelly has been there, and he's been with us for 8 years, and he lived down there. So, we started to see that we are hiring all these people, really, really, really good, smart people from, southern Miami. So someone once said, instead of having people come up for the monthly meeting and stay here in transportation, why don't we open another office and have an office both in New Albany and an office in Lauderdale? So. And
why don't we rebrand? I mean, you did not.
Do it all
you did not. You did. It was like it takes a pandemic to do all this.
Yeah, it does. But and that was the other thing. When you look at the Hornblower Company, I mean, in the last 2 years now, we've acquired 8 companies. So we're really, really growing.
So we are right now on a hornblower ship, one that gave us a dinner cruise around Manhattan, and where we actually saw the American Queen, the Statue of Liberty.
Yes, the Statue of Liberty, and it was great. And I think you brought it up, but that's the real American Queen, which is awesome. So, yeah.
So thank you for that gift.
Yes.
We all had that.
Yes, no, our pleasure.
Is there anything that you want to talk about itineraries or anything else?
Yeah, so I do, and thanks for opening that up. I mean, so I'm very excited about both Alaska and Mexico, and so Mexico, I've been down there. The very first time we took about 8 people. We were invited by the government of Mexico to go down there, and I mean, Alan, it is so rich. We're always looking for cultural experiences, but you get to go to 3 Mayan ruins, and Joe did it in his presentation. I mean, it's kind of a cruise safari because you get to stay at the Maya Land Hotel, which is right next to Chichen Itza. But that means that at 5 o'clock in the morning, we get you up and you walk in the dark, and you're there. So when the sun comes up, you're right there. And we have some pictures of a flashlight with one of our gals like this, and it's on the side of the pyramid.
But it's specifically for you guys.
Just for us guys. And that was something. The governor of the Yucatan Peninsula came up, to New Albany and said, John, I want you to come down. I know you're interested. What can I do for you? And I said, I need a couple little things like this that make us special.
And this goes with your new slogan, Discovery Runs Deep.
Discovery runs deep. It does. Because we're all about what I call edutainment. At our age, at our age, a lot of us have had all the possessions. I say I still don't because I'm only up to 17 cars and I think I need another 30 or 40. But most of us are done with possessions and really want experiences. And I'm here to tell you, when you go down there, I mean, it's just so rich. We did so many things. But Campeche, and to be there in the middle of the night and to go to 3 Mayan ruins, to go to some of the art galleries, to look at their history, it's just amazing. And so, and then the other thing is Alaska, and there, so I'm a marine biologist, and the good news for me is I graduated from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and so we've formed an affiliation with them. The fact that you have marine biologists in, a zodiac with you that talk about bubble feeding, and that's a cormorant, and this is what they're doing, that's one thing. The other thing is Claudette and I have already set up a scholarship fund for biologists. So if you come on, Alan, and you see a young biologist that you say, oh my God, that's good, I want to put $50 in this scholarship fund to help these people, you can do that. But then it went to the dean that we met with, Dean of Science and Math, Dean Wendt. He basically said, hey, John, I get the whole helping young biologists, and I get that. He said, but you could also help me. He said, right now, funding for these research projects is so limited, and for a scientist to go rent a boat for 9 days, with a crew. He said too expensive, but he said, if you could allow us to put a scientist on board where they're doing real experiments, and I said, well, it's a John Wagner.
That's a value add.
It's a value add. And I said, well, so he's going to have to do a presentation at night, and he's going to have to show,
earn his keep,
like they talked about. Yeah, we're going to drag a plankton net, and he's going to look at this plankton, and he's going to talk about this, and he's going to do.
And he or she's going to have a ball.
A ball, but I think our guests will.
Yeah.
So right now, Alan, if you look at global warming, hot topic, and
pun intended.
Unintended, yes. And so if somebody is doing research on that, and you listen to one of their presentations with everything, I mean, at least you go home and you're more educated. You've seen things up close. It might be like this week on CNBC, it was who's the fattest bear out there? Because, I mean, they're eating all the salmon, to hibernate, but it's things like that. And so as a biologist, I love it because our boat is just built for up there, environmentally sensitive, but it's just a way cool ship. The fact that we can help Cal Poly, the fact that we can set up a scholarship, the fact that it's ongoing education for our guests. And Mike Bennett will talk about the Cake Science Center and everything else that we're working with. So very excited about that.
And why? Because discovery runs deep.
Discovery runs deep, yes.
Okay. So we go out to 90,000 travel advisors. Is there anything you want to tell them?
Yeah, I want to thank them. As you know from our presentation, we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary, and in my wildest dreams, I never thought we'd be here, 10 years later.
And one boat.
One boat. It was only going to be one boat, Alan, but it was going to be the best and coolest. It was the largest, most opulent steamboat in the world. But that one boat was special. But from then, I guess we couldn't help myself. I guess that's why I have 17 cars too. I can't just buy just one. So I must have that obsessive compulsion deal or something that's not right with me. But thank you guys for.
But you all benefit from that.
Yes, you benefit. And Joe will tell you about the great deals we have going and sales commissions and. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
All right, so stay tuned, and we will talk about sales in our next Insider Travel Report.